All right, guys. We're gonna just get started in a bit here. Just gonna be sharing the link real quick on YouTube. Sorry, my voice is actually a little bit it's been quite a battle with the flu that I've had here. But either way, we're gonna be fighting through this, guys. And if you're just joining in, welcome. We're gonna be looking at Zen. We're gonna be talking about a few things here, guys, in regards to Bitcoin. Some of the strategies. Are we actually even expecting a bounce in Zen as well too? So we're gonna take a look at all of that, guys, because we are nearing or very close, guys, to an actual bottom maybe on Zen here, based off of the strategies we've been actually applying here, in terms of what we've been looking at for quite some time, right? And we said, look, always apply strategy, always have something in favor, so that you can be on the most probabilistic side of the market. And when you don't have a strategy, well, you know, you don't know your downside risk, you don't know your risk to reward, you don't have a stop loss, take profit, you don't have any of this, guys, right? You don't have any of this to assist you in terms of taking a trade. And that's why I say always, guys, always come with a plan, come with a strategy. Whatever you do in life, guys, whatever you do in life, whatever you do, let's talk about Zen, guys. Let's talk about Zen. Just gonna tweet this out. Yeah, so guys, always have a strategy when it comes to, again, whatever you do in life, whether it's trading, whatever it may be, guys, at the end of the day, right? Always have a strategy so that you outweigh your outcomes. And there's a lot happening right now in the crypto space, guys. We see volatility at its very lowest, very lowest we've seen in a very long time. And sometimes it can get very boring in terms of Bitcoin, especially if you're trading it just moving just a few $100s, guys, in terms of price. We're starting to see Bitcoin actually break down currently. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, guys, I do post, again, these trading calls on there. So, and I provide you the receipt, win or lose, guys. Win or lose, you can essentially hold me accountable. Now, this is not financial advice, but you can actually hold me accountable to my trades. You can see my win percentages. You can see how many trades I'm actually losing overall. And I post this. This is what an actual trader does, guys. He holds himself accountable. It's a very difficult thing when a lot of people are actually watching your trades, but it holds you accountable. That way you can actually improve overall. You're going to have losses no matter what in terms of this. But a lot of people, again, are losing hope in terms of Bitcoin, because we've been, ranging in this market for quite some time, around the upper 29,000 to $31,000 area. We finally broke below it. We're currently in a downtrend overall with Bitcoin, and we've been playing this so nicely in terms of taking some of these strategies, applying a lot of these strategies in these trades, right, and coming out on the profitable side. We did have one loss, I think it was, applying one of the strategies, but overall, we've been very profitable, guys. We do see some conditions actually being met on strategy 21. Now, you've seen me talk about this strategy for quite some time, and this is actually happening on the 6-hourly, guys. And this particular strategy essentially is using the range delta indicator with low BBWP reading. Now, if you look across the board in terms of different time frames, you can see that the BBWP is in a very low reading, meaning it's looking for an actual expansion. From the expansion phase, that's when you're going to get that big volatile move, guys. If you go across the board, 8-hourly, low BBWP reading, 12-hourly, daily, you can see 2-day. Guys, we are at historic low volatility readings across the board on a lot of time frames. So usually when Bitcoin starts to trend sideways and volatility goes really low, that's when you can expect a big giant move, guys. That's when you can expect a big move in terms of the market, right? And the whole assets, the whole crypto space has been waiting on Bitcoin to make up its mind, right? Where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go in terms of this? But from this particular strategy, guys, closing above the yellow line, so you can see here on the range delta indicator, using low BBWP, on average gives you a downside of 7.78%, which will bring you roughly around the $26,780. Now just keep in mind, guys, these are just average numbers. These are just statistical data that we apply to essentially give us probability or be in favor of the right side of the trade. Now I present you again with this data set so you can actually see it, guys. We can see here again about 7.81% to downside, and if this were to go to the upside, it would bring you about 4.66%. Now this is direction neutral trade, meaning that you're gonna have to do some technical analysis to be to understand which side the market is actually going to be going in favor of. So again, 50-50 neutral type trade. But if we were to see the upside of this, this would put us back in this ranging area that the market has been for quite some time, and it would put us just roughly around the 30,500 mark, guys. So in the mid region of that. So that's basically what's happening with this particular strategy. Again, I keep you posted, guys, to let you know, hey, look, Bitcoin signal conditions met on the 6-hourly non-directional trade. So you should be looking for opportunities that are going to present themselves, guys. And when you take these trades, guys, they always give you, more capital to basically reinvest back into your favorite altcoins, whether it's Zen, Hex, Pulsechain, guys. It gives you this sideline hustle. Again, if you don't have a strategy, guys, you don't have risk management, I recommend that, you work on your craft. You will, blow up an account, but just remember that keeping your account to minimal, if you have $5,000, trade 100 or 200 of that, right? Use only 1% of your account. You don't have to go too crazy in the beginning if you're starting to basically trade, and work your way up. Start learning with real money. You can open up a demo account, but you won't feel the full psychological aspects when it comes to trading. You won't feel the full emotions when it comes to trading, guys. So that's what I recommend, is that, look, if you have $1,000, $2,000, $500 even, guys, just risk 1% of that, just so you can feel the psychological emotion aspects of trading. And when you are able to do that, then you can actually work your way up slowly and slowly, guys. I know that in the beginning it's really hard because you're competing with trading fees, right? Exchange fees and things like that, where you're not going to see any profit. But it gets you in the good habit of knowing, hey, okay, this is emotionally how I'm going to feel when I actually enter a trade. Knowing that, okay, this is what I did wrong. Okay, I need to reapply something a lot different, or optimize my strategy so that this time it's going to be a lot different. Again, you always have to keep in mind these strategies, guys, they do have a yield curve, a profit curve, meaning that you have to keep track of them to see whether or not they're still profitable. And once you start to dwindle down under the 50% mark, that's when you're going to have a hard time in terms of that strategy continuing to apply it for future purposes. But again, let's just go ahead and talk about the overall market, guys. So we do know that, look, volatility is low. We're nearing something that's gonna move the markets, and that is basically CPI, inflation data, that we've been discussing in the previous videos, guys. We're talking about the inflation data, how it's gonna overall affect the market. And we do know that, look, come during August 10th, if inflation is actually low, now you have 2 consecutive readings for Jerome Powell to reassess and look at this and say, okay, the current rates, that the Fed rates that we've applied have put enough pressure where we're seeing inflation actually come down substantially. 2 consecutive months, right, in terms of the CPI data. Now, I think they're going to continue to actually watch the core CPI data as well too, because I think they're highly in favor of those statistical information than just the general CPI. But in terms of 2 consecutive months coming out with low inflation data, that's going to say, okay, the current rates are good. We don't need to raise it. And that actually spells good in terms of risk on assets, right? Starting to actually move. Because everything is correlated in some way or form, guys, right? We can see that if rates essentially stay stagnant, then, you know, the DXY may lose dominance here. And then it'll give an opportunity for Bitcoin to actually start swinging to the upside. If inflation data comes a lot higher than expectation, then in that case, then Jerome Powell hasn't really closed the door in terms of actually raising rates from here on out, right? Meaning that there might be, you know, a few more rate hikes or another rate hike till the end of the year or the next quarter in terms of this, guys. So that means the DXY will continue to actually gain dominance, and risk on assets are not going to do so well. Now, in terms of this, we are coming to a key pivotal, you know, structure in terms of the DXY, in terms of resistance. Now, are we going to be putting in a lower high here? Okay, in terms of this, right? Lower high, and then just continue this downtrending movement in the US dollar index, right? Or are we going to actually start to, you know, put in these higher lows on the lower time frames and actually start building an uptrend, you know, back to the 103 area and then 104 area from there? That's the worst case scenario, guys, that, look, Bitcoin can actually face, is that DXY starts to regain momentum, because it will start to put a lot of pressure for Bitcoin. Okay, so that is the key target thing that we're actually watching here. Our crypto buzz that I informed you about, you know, a couple videos past, said, look, CPI data is coming close. Let's see what's gonna, you know, come out of this, and then you can actually make a decisive decision. Now, we did see some conditions again being met on some of our strategies that we've been applying here at Crypto Bros. We're even starting to see the 4-hourly one. The conditions are actually being met for this particular one. And what you want to see is, you want on the 4-hourly, guys, the MACD EMA below the midline turn from green to red with a low BBWP reading. So we do have that in terms of this so far. Now, we haven't gotten the closure. You always want to wait for closure for confirmation, even though, you know, you might miss some of that move in particular. But as you can see here, guys, turning from green to red with low BBWP reading gives you these statistical data. Okay, so meaning that if you take this strategy, 79% of the time you're actually going to be shorting it, and you're going to be winning that trade overall. Now, I laid out the actual targets for you. So the average downside targets are about 3.29%, which brings us just roughly around $28,000. And if you were to actually lose this trade, because this is a short trade that you're actually taking, you would be losing it. It would bring you just roughly around the, you know, up close to $29,800, which is retesting this ranging market here, guys. Okay, the lower side resistance of the ranging market. So yeah, there are some other news that I actually want to cover here that I find very intriguing and very important overall. We can see that Binance sold USDC for another stablecoin. So we can see that the big exchange, the big behemoth, is moving away from USDC and getting into TUSD. Okay, and this is a new stablecoin essentially that has come out in terms of this. And you can see there's a lot of exit liquidity coming out of these stablecoins into TUSD, which is very intriguing overall. I don't know how this is going to affect the overall market, but we do know that maybe they do know something in terms of regulation that's going to be coming out. So that's why they're, again, exiting. And they've been exiting, again, USDT, Tether, for quite some time. And do they know something in terms of regulation and why they're actually exiting it? Okay, is there something happening in terms of the SEC that are going to be implementing something in terms of regulation that's going to be, you know, very harshly in terms of Binance, and they're trying to go to the safer side of things and go to another stable coin? So there is big move. There is news that's going to be coming out that's basically going to drive the market, overall, and we know that volatility is low. So any news in terms of whether it's positive or negative, it's going to start to move the market, because we've been moving up $100 to $200, guys. Very low volatility in the markets. Okay, one other thing that I want to cover also relating to stablecoins. It's weird how all these news really come out all at once, right? You talk about Binance really moving away from USDT and USDC, and now you have PayPal trying to launch their own stable-backed US dollar coin, right? So they're actually getting into the stablecoin market. And in terms of regulation, I don't know how this is overall going to be good, because they're going to be facing a lot of scrutiny. Again, we've seen a lot of these stable coins essentially complete with the US dollar. And the SEC and the Fed have come out clearly saying that, again, stable coins are in competition with the US dollar. So it's very, very timed in terms of all this news that's basically been coming out. And I think this is going to, again, relate back to regulation with the SEC overall. And yeah, so this is basically, tying into, again, low volatility, this news of coming out with stable coins and all that. So crazy stuff are happening in terms of, getting a major move, very close to a major move, guys. So let's go ahead and talk about XEN real quick with this strategy in terms of the 12-hour. And I know a lot of people have been basically following this. I've been posting it on Twitter as well too. And we've been right a few times in terms of this actual strategy. Now, this strategy does have 100% strike rate, where when you're actually meeting these particular conditions, as you can see here, guys, and these conditions were met 6 times during the lifetime of XEN. And if you see these particular conditions, it basically gives you an entry condition to actually start shorting XEN. And 100% of the time, you're going to be at least profitable in terms of this. Now, the mean average that XEN goes down is about, again, 28%. We've already seen that, right? We've already seen the average of 28%. Usually takes about 5 days to complete. However, on average, we are 13 days into this particular move before we actually saw the average of 28%. Now, that does not mean, guys, that Bitcoin can't go a lot lower. It certainly can go a lot lower. In terms of, XEN going down, below the all-time lows. Again, these are statistical probabilities to basically get you on the right side and take a short trade with XEN. However, what I'm particularly interested at this moment is we're looking for a bounce. Okay, we're looking for a bounce once XEN really gets close to, again, the average numbers of this particular strategy, or very close to where the bottom might be. Now, we can't really 100% time the bottoms. However, if we can catch, 10 to 20% of that particular move, then overall, that's good for our trade. We can start taking profits, reaccumulate more into our favorite altcoins. But when do we really start to see an actual close to a bottom? Is when we really get, to the mid region of the range delta right here, guys. Okay. Or what we start to see is that the purple line essentially crosses the green line, okay, indicating that we are oversold. Again, not just because something is oversold doesn't mean that it can't go any lower. However, if you are looking to dollar cost average for, into the future, long-term play, these are, again, great opportunities for you to get into, because as you can see, again, XEN is close, again, to its all-time lows, guys. Whether or not we're going to see new all-time lows, that depends on the next bounce that we actually see from here on out, right? We're expecting minimal move to the 55-day moving average. Okay, minimum, we're expecting a move to the 55-day moving average. Whether or not we actually get rejected from there, that's yet to be determined. We're going to have to take a look at the data and see the probabilities of that. Whether or not we get rejected there, or we start this uptrend movement on the lower time frames, putting in these higher highs and higher lows, then I think we are building a case where, hey, we look back into this and we say, okay, maybe this was the complete bottom for XEN, for you to hold for long term, whether it's a year, 2 years, or 3 years from now on. Again, if you've seen where XEN has been, guys, then I mean, you saw this big massive massive move, right? We went up substantially, guys. We went roughly about 1400% to the upside. And if you can capture some of those particular gains, right, even if it's 1000% or 800% for that big next leg up, then these prices are gonna be a piece of cake, guys, for a lot of people who are, you know, starting to find out about Zen. They're minting, and then, you know, once Zen starts to make its way up and those mints start to unlock, you know, we're gonna see sell pressure come in, and then, you know, restart this whole process up again. Again, that only happens where we continue to actually, you know, put in higher highs and higher lows, is when you really start to see an altcoin run, guys. But for now, the time being, is we're applying short side strategies for us to actually gain capital, reinvest back in, whether it's into mints, right? Go back and remint some of these Zen NFTs, or whether you're basically doing vanilla mint, whatever the case may be. Or you want to basically invest in some of these Zen projects that are going to be coming out, right? Or you want to go back into DB Zen, or whether or not you want to go into Zen Pepe, or whether you want to, whatever the case may be, guys. You always can build some sort of capital when you trade to basically accumulate more of your favorite altcoins. So when you actually do get that run up in altcoins, in Zen, in Hex, Pulsechain, whatever the case may be, you are ready to basically take that big ride up, right? Because sitting sideline and just not putting any capital, and you knew that, okay, I have all the capital invested in there, now I can reinvest more, your gains are not going to be as massive if you're, you know, being proactive, you're trying to learn, you're understanding the whole ecosystem, you're getting into it, and trying to really diversify yourself. You know, that's what I always recommend, guys. But at the same time, always apply risk management, because it's the most key important thing. And again, you've been through a very harsh bear market, guys. You guys have been through a really harsh bear market, and the bear market changes a lot of people, changes a lot of traders. Some you know, investors don't even come back to this market anymore, right? They don't look the same way in terms of what the market did in terms of the bull market, right? So what I'm saying is, end of the day, guys, always apply risk management. The market will humble you. Okay, it will humble anybody, guys. Okay, it humbled me many times, right? I've lost a lot of capital. However, I've been able to regain by applying, you know, time and effort, and trying to learn how to trade, and trying to look for assets that are going to do very well for the long term, right? You don't have to go after every shiny crypto asset that comes out, right? That's how you get wrecked. But look for long-term assets that you know are going to be here for the long term, that are going to sustain in when regulation comes in, and are going to do well for the next cycle. So I always recommend that, guys. Learn as much as you can in this downtrending market that we've been having in terms of Zen. I know things are going to look up. Things look really bad at this moment, right? They look really bad at this moment. But if you can see the hope at the end of the tunnel, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, then again, why wouldn't you want to be investing at these low prices, right? And your risk to reward is your entry fee to basically mint, guys, right? Your onboarding fee is basically just going in and minting and paying the gas fee. That's all you're doing. But at the end of the day, guys, right, if you want to take these trades, I do post them here for you. And you know, this was accurate. This trade was accurate, guys. We saw the conditions being met. We took that short side position on Zen, right? And it became very profitable, right? Brought us about almost 28% to the downside so far. So we're going to be using some of that capital basic to reinvest, mint some NFTs, mint some vanilla mints. We're going to go in and reinvest in some of our Zen projects that are going to be coming out. So there's opportunity. Whichever way you look, market will present you with opportunity. Just remember that, guys. The market is abundantly filled with opportunities, and you don't have to, you know, risk your whole capital at the end of the day. Just remember that. Anyways, that's basically my rant in terms of you know, of that. But what we're looking for is the bounce is again, the range delta really getting close to the mid in terms of the mid side of this, and you want to see the purple line essentially close above the green line where it's indicating, okay, you're oversold. We're looking for a bounce overall to the 55 EMA, the green EMA here, guys. And then eventually, what comes after that, that's what we're gonna have to take a look at from there. But so far, very profitable in terms of the short side of this. Let's go ahead and talk about Hex real quick. Again, really not much to be discussing. It's gonna have a long battle really coming out of this. You know, a lot of people think that, okay, I've completely grabbed the bottom here. You know, you don't want to be catching falling knives, guys. You don't want to be catching these falling knives, because the SEC case is gonna take a very long time to come to a resolution. We saw that happen with XRP. A lot of people jumped in on the news of the SEC going after XRP. They catch a lot of falling knives, right? They weren't patient enough with the process, right? This is going to be a long process, a long battle that Richard is going to have to fight if he really cares about his ecosystem. And he's going to try to get the best lawyers, the best litigators in terms of crypto, right, to go after the SEC. But if he doesn't, and he rolls over, or he doesn't even, you know, gives 2 cents about this, let's say he goes to another country, you don't even hear about him, he disappears, right? Then how well does that spell for Hex, right? He's holding a majority of the OA. I'm pretty sure he's the owner of the OA. He has to be in some sort of way or form, right? It's his project. And I think the SEC are going to build a case in terms of that, right? I think they're going to build a more exuberant case in terms of Pulsechain than Hex, and going after him in terms of the sacrifice phase and what was happening there as well too. Again, I'm a long-term believer. I was a long-term believer in Hex. You know, I got in very early. I got in very early with Pulsechain as well too. Sacrificed into it. However, once Pulsechain came out and we started to see the issues that it was having in terms of that, I basically sold at a 2x. I sold at a 2x. I said, look, my downside risk, I feel, is a lot higher than actually Pulsechain doing 8 or 10x or 20x from here on out. I don't think we've seen the full drawdown in terms of Pulsechain overall, and Hex as well too. So this is going to take a very long time, a year or 2 year. You will always get an opportunity, right, to get into these levels, right? It's just watching your dollar DCA average, right? You're watching your dollar cost average, guys. That's what it is. It's watching that number and going in, maybe putting $100 in, you know, a week, and then 3 weeks or a month from now, go in with another $100. Always dollar cost average, so that you know you got a good price for the long term. If you are a long-term holder into this, if you're a short-term trader, again, I don't recommend it, you know, trading this, because, you know, I still see a lot of downside risk. You really can't short Hex on any exchange. There is no derivatives for it, so you can't really trade it in terms of short-siding Hex. And if maybe there was ability to short Hex, Hex would have probably gone a lot lower, guys, right? It would have gone a lot lower if you were able to actually short Hex. Now, you could say that, okay, if you're selling Hex, maybe you are in some way you're actually shorting Hex. If you're selling it, if you're becoming a seller of it, but there is no actual way of actually shorting Hex, you know, going on an exchange and shorting it. But if that was the case, I think Hex would have been a lot lower, guys. Okay, a lot lower. But again, I don't think we've seen the full downside of this. Is going to take some time. If you really believe in Hex, then just DCA is the best way to go with this thing. Let's go ahead and talk about Pulsechain. Again, with Pulsechain, we were correct in terms of this, you know, coming to this particular resistance line, getting rejected, trying to really stay above this particular green 55 EMA. We weren't able to do that, and then we're just starting this downside pressure in terms of Pulsechain. So we're seeing the sellers really come in. This is becoming a lower high, right? You're basically putting in lower lows and lower highs, and then, you know, whether or not this starts to roll over on the lower time frames, you start to put in those lower lows. This is what we're gonna most likely see over the next period, that this is gonna act as resistance. Now, what I would had seen in Pulsechain overall is I would like to, you know, maintain this particular area for a higher low, and then maybe break away from this down sending resistance that's coming in, right? And then retesting this area. But we have a lot of resistance in this area, guys. A lot of resistance in this area, okay? Which is going to take a long time to really get over, right? We saw this, you know, during the inception of Pulsechain, started to have this downsending market, right? Fiddle around range in this area, and then eventually spill over, you know, like a waterfall. And then if you were a buyer of this, you know, you would have made roughly around 272%, right? Very close to, again, a 3x here. But again, guys, I think, you know, this is going to start a downtrending, still putting in lower lows and lower highs on the lower time frames. And we still haven't seen the full extent down draw in terms of Pulsechain, Hex, Pulsechain, and all that good stuff there. Other than that, I think we're going to cut it short. Yeah, I think we covered the strategies, we covered Pulsechain, we covered XEN, we covered some important news that's basically might drive the market up. Again, look out for what's going to be happening again with these stablecoins. It seems all very timed. The date that I'm going to be watching in particular, again, is August 10th, guys, because of the inflation data. I think that's going to really try to tell a bigger story in terms of where the market is going to be heading. If we get higher inflation, then you know that Jerome Powell is going to be coming out a lot more hawkish. If we come out a lot lower, then I think they're going to be happy with where the rates are, because it's really taking effect in terms of the markets and driving inflation a lot lower. Yeah, so keep an eye on DXY. That's going to be important. Opportunity is being presented for Bitcoin with this drawdown in terms of the DXY. So yeah, guys, I'll leave you off with this. If you enjoy content like this, give this video a thumbs up. It does help out a lot, helps the algorithm. And yeah, and until next time, bros, as always, stay